I'm in JD's shop today, and he is fabricating a platform for a local factory. This is the base of it, and it's actually upside down right now. And what he's doing is he's clamping it down flat to the strong hand table and using a whole bunch of fireball squares to get all the angles right so that everything stays straight and so that it doesn't look like a banana when he's done welding it. If you've seen JD on my channel before, you probably know he loves dual shield flux core. But this job, there's only one thing that makes sense, and that's short circuit MIG. Short circuit has a tendency to distort a little bit less than hotter processes like dual shield or spray transfer. Another thing JD's doing, he's just making small stitch welds, small 1-inch welds spaced out about every 10 or 12 inches or so. You may have noticed that JD didn't put a whole lot of tack welds on this thing. Like, he didn't jump around it putting 30 or 40 different tack welds on it before he just started welding. And that's one benefit of many, into just having a whole bunch of clamps to lock everything in place, have it locked down flat to the table, and he can just go. And what he's doing is he's gradually moving clamps around and releasing them as he welds, keeping everything clamped up where he's putting the heat. And of course, it's going to distort a little bit. Everything distorts a little bit. It's hard to avoid it, but it's not going to distort much. Because this is going to sit on some steel runners, these welds need to be ground. 6-inch. Yeah. These Walter flap discs are some of the best I've ever used. I don't use the 6-inch typically, but I use the 4.5-inch, and man, they are good discs that last a long time. So now that this thing is flipped over, it's time to put the handrails on.
Weird to stop it right here where the conduit's going to go. So
this strong hand table's got some leveling feet on it on the casters, so we're making sure everything is nice and level so we don't have to go back and check that.
What's great about this is you got all these spaces right here.
Yeah.
This thing's so wide that it absorbs the high-low. You know, like if you were trying to do a bladed framing square, you're hitting on top of them, some of them this way, that way. This.
Yeah, it just gets the overall flatness.
Yeah. And I know that I'm holding it pretty much square. Let me get some levels just to double check it. But
these little tabs really come in handy for holding everything like it should be. So basically, once you got it set in the square right, you can just start tacking. And of course, things move a tiny bit, but it's going to be really, really close to being perfectly square. And it is a big, big time saver when you got a lot of things like this to do. So if you do have slightly crooked cut, you'll have a little gap, but then you know where to tack it. You tack it where it's touching, then go from there.
Yeah, and you know, if you didn't have this square holding it, so if you did tack it in the wrong spot, it would pull that way. This way, it just sits there. It's all ready for you.
So all the riser pieces or upright pieces are in now. Now it's time to tack weld in all the horizontal pieces.
So I can do that all with one hand because I got those tabs.
Yeah.
You know, you can hold it this way and that way and then sit there and get exactly what you need. I can almost tell which one's out because see, I got a gap right here, so I know that needs to come forward.
Okay, so next thing is to put on the kick plates all around this thing. Gotta have kick plates for safety's sake. But it'll be painted, and then plugs or caps will be put in the open ends, and the kick plates are just 11 gauge. You ever do this right here? Forget that a big fan is blowing on you, and then boom, Lots and lots of porosity. It was very hot that day. Here's the way it should go without a fan blowing on you. No porosity, things going along nice and smooth. That's kind of the life of a welder. Sometimes you can't have a fan on you no matter how hot it is if it's blowing away the shielding gas. Close to done here, except for not really. JD's got 2 more of these to build. They're almost identical, but slight differences because they go around different obstacles like conduit and things like that. If you haven't seen this video yet, I think you might like it. I posted it a few weeks before this one. It's a vertical uphill test plate. I think it came out pretty good, but you be the judge. Go check it out. I'll link it up right here.